Hi! My last two videos were about internet horror and they both popped off really well. So I thought I'd round this off with a trilogy. I want to discuss a quite obscure niche of internet horror, specifically Mario Creepypastas. There is a side to internet horror that uses pre-existing IPs, primarily popularized by the creepypasta Sonic.exe. To make a long story short, there was room to improve, and so people did. Getting to work, getting a mucking grime in between their fingernails, and making a bunch of internet horror pieces with Sonic and other IPs. Most of them were also bad. But then came a familiar, bulbous face. Wherever the blue blur tries to succeed, the red plump plumber has to upstage him. Introduce the Red Menace himself, everybody.
It's me, Mario. Almost. Oh, you two seem a bit scared. Well, don't be. I'm not gonna kill you. Yet.
Then came the creepypastas. Mario Buddy's a knife-wielding pyromaniac psychopath. Mario Buddy's a giant titan crushing everything in his path. Mario Buddy's a killer clown that bends reality in order to kill you. There are so many, they even have a name. The Horror Brews. And today, I want to highlight some of the Mario creepypastas that I think are pretty neat. Well, not all of them are technically creepypastas, but they all fit within that creepypasta-esque niche, and also creepypasta is just a more catchy term than internet horror over and over again, alright? Mario Party DS anti-piracy. Certain games, especially older games, have what's known as anti-piracy screens. Certain games can detect whether or not these games are being played legitimately or not. If they know you are playing the game pirated, there will be measures to stop you from playing the game. Most popularly, a screen that says something along the lines of, "Stop pirating, buy our game that is impossible to get in a way that supports our company in the year 2024. These screens are very ominous, silent, and threatening to a lot of people. On one day, October 13, 2020, a creator known as Joey Perloni would upload a video making a fake anti-piracy screen, playing up the scariness of anti-piracy screens while still keeping things believable, unlike most lost episode or game creepypastas. Many people, including me, were actually convinced for a bit that this was real. Its horror rested in two pieces. One, how realistic it was. There was no bleeding from the eyes, random dark themes, or random edge. This creepypasta is the definition of less is more. The second one is the fact that this series represents an actual, very real-world issue, evil. The fact that games aren't being preserved and everyone is pushed towards piracy that could effectively probably give bugs to your computer if you don't know how to do it right, because of companies refusing to sell you their own games so that they have a tighter hold on the consumer. Personifying this fear and evil of the games industry through a short horror series is really impactful, actually, as is tradition with a good and simple idea It got replicated by hundreds upon hundreds. Every fandom and franchise got their own creation. This was short-lived, however, as all trends are. The 8th and 9th installment in the franchise would see the introduction of series mascot DJ Hollywood. The video had our host, who was a redesign of MC Ballyhoo from Mario Party 8. It's a challenge to trace the message before Luigi is cheated out of a victory and is reported to the police. So that's right. In this series, Luigi sticks it to an evil businessman and is promptly sent to jail. Foreshadowing is when DJ's voice would then eventually become associated with one man in particular, Juno Songs, a man whose channel is video game songs that don't have lyrics and then adding lyrics to them. He then made one of his videos about putting lyrics to DJ Halliboo's theme. He would then go on to voice act in the finale of the Mario Party DS Anti-Piracy series. Kind of a mouthful. That brings us to the finale of the series. And man, it's absolute cinema. It becomes a full skit with film direction and props and costumes. Sort of like Golden Era classic Smosh, if you remember them. The finale is really funny. There's a police chase where Toad tries to shoot the creator cold dead. Towards the end, the main character, Joey Perloni, gives a pro-piracy speech that I'll play here.
Actually, it's DS.
This isn't how it should be. Mario Party DS hasn't been sold in over 13 years, and it's not even available for sale on any current Nintendo platforms. So why is it such a big deal if I pirate the game? If I pirate the game for my own enjoyment, why is it such a problem if you're not going to make any money from it in the first place? This isn't right, Nintendo. This isn't right.
Piracy is no party.
Then he dies. The end. What an amazing horror series that is eerie from beginning to end, except for the Smosh-inspired parts of the finale, which are hilarious, by the way. This is an S-tier internet horror series, and I recommend it to any Mario fan. It's genuinely one of my favorite, like top 10 or 5. But not all can be amazing. Introducing the next one.
Oh man. Oh, we're just gonna loop out. Hey!
I Hate You.EXE by Slime Beast is a creepypasta where the basic gist is that Luigi is tired of being labeled as a creep, a weirdo, and not belonging here, and in turn joins Bowser's team. That's a really solid and simple premise for a creepypasta, but oh my goodness, is the writing absolutely atrocious. Nothing, and I mean nothing, carries any sort of scare factor. It's just a normal Bowser's Castle level, but there's added gore. The thwomps are bloody. Mario's been drowned, and the Koopas are cutting themselves. The last one was tacked on there, but you get the point, man. What is there to say about the story of this creepypasta? It had such a good premise, but it was so wasted, man. Don't even get me started on the narrator, man. I just wanna... don't even give him a cartoony punishment. Just end his life. Don't even get me started on the narrator, man. I know creepypastas don't usually have good narrators / POV characters, as the spice usually lies in the monster or banking on the premise of the horror, similar to regular horror movies. The only really good creepypasta narrators slash POV characters are the ones from Petscop and NES Godzilla. Both the narrators I just listed are either integral characters to the story, or at least have some interesting commentary. The narrator of I Hate You.EXE is not only a non-factor, I actively just don't like him, bro. He just seems so lame and just dispenses some of the worst dialogue I've ever seen in a creepypasta. Alright, there's this scene where this guy walks in on a scene where there is a room soaked and sopping with blood, and it looks like the thwomps are to blame. The protagonist's response to this grisly scene? Well, looks like the thwomps have been very successful thwomps. Oh, that just happened. They fly now. He's right behind me, isn't he? Genuinely, some of the worst dialogue I have ever read. Why are we talking like Marvel movie characters before the phenomenon even started? Let's jump ahead to the main event, the Luigi fight. Luigi's motives are explained that he always hated living in Mario's shadow, like I explained earlier. So, Luigi started working for Bowser. Mario and Luigi start fighting, and we get the best line in creepypasta history from day one. From the original Mario Brothers onwards. It had always been an inside job. That's right, the Super Mario Brothers is an inside job. As we know, fire flowers can't melt bullet bills. Oh, come on. The day before the princess was kidnapped, the Mushroom Kingdom mysteriously lost 2.3 trillion gold coins. It is clearly obvious that Wario at least aided in capturing the princess so that he would have an excuse to raid Bowser's kingdom and steal all his gold coins, brick blocks, and power-ups. That's why Obama is a warmonger. Alright, I changed my mind. This is the best creepypasta that I've ever read. Absolute cinema. In the end, Luigi dies and says, "Oh god, no," the level's name, and then we see his burned corpse, and he was so ugly that he died. The end. Outside of genuinely the funniest line in creepypasta history, the interesting premise, this is one of the worst creepypastas I have ever read. This creepypasta has an annoying and overall awful narrator, no story, and it only shoves shock value in your face. It doesn't even have 1/1,000,000th of the charm of other shockbait creepypastas such as Jeff the Killer, Red Mist, or Sonic.exe. This story it's bad. You could say, I hate you! I'll give you one last series that is a little more complex than the others, but is also very recent, just like the anti-piracy series. Mario creepypastas over the years have only refined and improved. And this is the culmination. On to the last one. Super Mario 64 classified by Greedio. Super Mario 64 Classified. Out there is an urban legend that started on 4chan, as all horrifying things are, which is about the reason people keep misremembering things about Super Mario 64 and why it has such an eerie vibe coming back to it. This is because all copies of Super Mario 64 are personalized by a special AI to accommodate the player's skill sets and interests. Eventually, somebody would make this into an analog horror series. If you don't know, an analog horror series is a web series that uses old analog technology such as VHS tapes, old employee introduction tapes, and 90s TV shows. Thus, analog horror is its name. Mario Classified is one of those series. It's a really good take on this rumor, adapted for the analog horror format. This series follows the story of a developer log of Super Mario 64. It shows the testing and betas and even some of the advertisements of the game, but scary stuff happens in the middle of it. It's a really slow-paced series, so I only recommend it to people who aren't turned into drones because of short-form content. Mario Classified has two aspects of internet horror I really like. 1. The idea of a haunted game. Something about it just intrigues me in a way. The concept of an alternate reality getting corrupted and playing by its own rules is kind of scary and interesting. The idea that because of a vengeful ghost, you go from our mostly safe, at least for the average viewer, real world to a world of demons and monsters where you have to play by the rules of a petty beast is something that I like in horror. Out of all horror pieces that uses the haunted game trope, this is one of my favorite, doing everything they could with such a limited premise, that being every copy of Mario 64 is personalized. 2. The feeling of violation, if you get with me on this. I know it sounds weird, but get with me on this. Instead of the feeling of, like, active fright per se, it leaves you with a persistent feeling of unease and eeriness. It leaves you in a constant state of waiting for some sort of big jump scare, but you never get any emotional satisfaction of just letting it be over. Just lingering implications of something much worse that'll stick with you long after the piece is complete. If you watch it in release order, yeah, the story isn't in chronological order, which I think is intentional. The plot's very hard to follow this way, so I recommend watching it in chronological order, since Classified's plot does not benefit from being out of order, alright? This is not Mario Pulp Fiction. One criticism of Classified I have is just how much time is spent just milling around Mario 64 in silence. I think the series could have cut down on time. I don't think the series had enough substance to be like 3 hours long. Episode where this is the most prevalent is the epilogue, where not much happens. The epilogue could have been cut down to 15 minutes at most. I'm not going to cover much of the plot because it's very complex and I don't have time. I also do this because I want you to watch it on your own because I still really like it. This video isn't a deep dissection of Mario horror. It's a fast introduction to the masterpiece of Mario Creepypastas, to do a title drop. Before we head off to the conclusion, I would like to take a look at my favorite scene from Mario Classified. The scene where Luigi drowns to death and is permanently removed from the game, explaining why he isn't in the game. Begin scene. The The episode this happens in is the promo show. This is a video for a Nintendo-based program meant to advertise Nintendo games. Mario's job is to talk about the games, while Luigi is meant to perform all the platforming challenges. Eventually, we cut to a scene of Luigi put in a death trap. All his exits are walled off by bricks. He tries looking for an exit, but to no avail. At last, he tries to pick up gold coins in order to delay the ultimate inevitable, but it happens. We cut to a shot of Luigi's grave beneath the fountain of the Mushroom Kingdom Castle. This is a callback to the theory that states the barely legible letters on the said fountain read as L is real 2401. The scene is perfect. Not a word is said. Not even music. It is chillingly subtle and upfront. It tortures Luigi for the perfect amount of time before killing him off. We see Mario absolutely devastated by this. The voice making jokes and even chastising him in the epilogue. Mario seems to be talking to Luigi in the epilogue, but he isn't there anymore. The voice making jokes and even chastising him for his failures wasn't Luigi. It was him thinking what Luigi would say if he was still here. It hurts. Well, that wraps up the Internet Horror Trilogy. It will be at least a little while before I get back to the subject on the channel. We all needed a little bit of horror to be honest about the horrifying year we lived through and will live through next year. My New Year's resolution is this: a more consistent upload schedule. The world is mad, and I am too, without you. Happy New Year's, my incels. I'll be back next year. Thank you
So much for playing my game.